Hello, this is Denise Rutledge with Writing for Market. This is one of my earlier projects. Reviewing it gives us an opportunity to explore what's changed since 2009 and what has endured. You'll still find many of the ideas from 2009 floating around the internet, so this review may help you ignore those ideas that aren't effective in today's market. While I still feel good about this project, there are aspects of the content I would change today. There are also design changes that would give this whole website a more modern feel and also make it more effective. However, there are some elements that have stood the test of time. One thing that has changed significantly is screen sizing. Office Live shut down in 2012, so I took screenshots of the website before it disappeared. The resolution is only as good as my 19-inch monitor allowed at the time. If anything seems blurry, that's my excuse. Let's look at this project. The property investment company Northstar wanted to explore two options, leasing and selling a commercial property that they held in the Metho Valley. Blackbirds Event Center was the multi-use facility that they had invested in and improved significantly. Now they wanted to either sell or lease the property. So the scope of the project included designing a website that organized content effectively, including effective SEO in the content, and then writing copy to sell or lease this commercial property. So let's begin with the design strategies that we used. Well, first, I looked to their pictures because we needed to choose a color scheme. And rather than send them out on a completely new picture taking effort, which would have cost them a significant amount of money, I looked at the pictures that they had, and then I chose my color scheme. Then I edited the floor plans that they had for the property so that it would match the website as well. You'll see this as we start looking through the screenshots. Then I chose the navigational structure. It had to be logical. It had to be something that people would easily recognize what actions they needed to take. And at the time, the predominant popular location for a navigational theme was down the left side. That was where most websites placed it. And so I chose not to go with the newer style of putting it at the top. Now today I'd probably do differently. Also needed to optimize the call to actions position. And on the home page, which we are looking at off to the right, that position was up near the top to the right, and to this day that is something I still use. It is the best position for any call to action. I also used color as a feature for optimizing information so that people would gravitate to it. I also used bold text to prioritize information. And then in addition, I also made sure that every page had some type of picture gallery on it that would help to promote the page. And we will see more detail about that as we go through. Now, the SEO strategies that I used were very simple and actually continue to be very good strategies. I chose keywords that were related to the property, where it was located, and also what type of property it was, that there were rental units involved and lease options and commercial property, different keywords of that type. Then I used the keywords very naturally. There is nothing less pleasant to a person who's looking at content to read keywords that feel like the writer had to twist things to try and fit them in there. I also explored the LSI opportunities. That is latent semantic indexing. It is a feature that Google had in place back in 2009. It is now a predominant feature in the Google algorithm, and it is far more important to make sure that you are covering your topic naturally, not just using keywords to try and get Google to pay attention to you, because Google's also paying attention to how long somebody stays on the page, and LSI does give a better experience to the reader. And then it was also important that I gave every image a keyword that focused on the file name. So we used file names that were friendly and alt text attributes so that Google would know what the pictures were all about. Now there are some differences. So what is the difference between then and now? Well, here's a look at the home page. The main strategy, the one I use even more aggressively today, is to use the home page to create a hub of authority. This page is the website's primary hub. It is the thing that gives authority to every other page. You give authority by giving a good overview with links that lead to more information. The most important information is on this page. The content emphasizes the two things most important to the seller: finding a buyer or attracting business renters. So would I continue to do this? Well, in general, I probably would. Buy it went first because that's what the seller really wanted to happen. However, he was realistic, so leasing was also on the table. Now, the change that I might make is that I would emphasize more what the buyer is going to be interested in, because the seller may want something, but he has to write content that reaches to the purchaser and makes them want to make the purchase or to lease the property. And so I have to be more in the head of the person who's coming to the page instead of totally thinking from the perspective of the person who is using this website to market. I might still use the color behind the headings because it gave a real bold effect, and yet at the same time it's kind of an old style that you probably wouldn't see today. I would be more likely to want it to be across the entire panel, not just highlighting the specific text like it does in Two Ways to Benefit from This Property. I would rather see that blocked all the way across rather than just highlighted behind the text. But that's not a significant change. But there is one thing I would definitely change. That is, I would add a call to action to learn more about the buying opportunity. I depended upon the navigation to create the call to action. That was a mistake. Today, I would want to make sure that there's a call to action for the buy it option. Now, here are some additional strategy updates. I would move the navigation to the top because that is much more modern, and it is actually where people expect to look for navigation in today's marketplace. The other reason is that it wastes an awful lot of space below the navigation. There's a whole band that's unable to be used. It's just there. It's creating, this little band of color, but that's all it does. It doesn't deliver any benefit at all. So if you're going to have a side navigation, it needs to be one that allows something to go below it. But that can be cluttered. So I prefer now to use a navigation that's at the top. I would also place the major call to action at the upper right on every page. You'll notice that on this particular page, there is no call to action up at the upper right. I probably would change that. It might be right within the text block instead of being, like you've seen on the previous one, where it was filling up another column and wasting space. But there would be more of a definite call to action. Another item that I would do is keep a sales page approach. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't mean hard sale, let's twist somebody's arm. What I do mean is that whenever you have data, there needs to be something that helps the reader understand what that data means, how it impacts their decision. And I only did this slightly in the content that's here. It really would have been much more effective if I had continued in a vein that provided, really useful information, and that it had been a much longer page than this. This is hardly enough content to get anyone to pay attention to this piece of property. It's just a quick blurb. Let's throw at them all this great information, but nothing to actually motivate a decision. Also, I needed to emphasize the benefits that were created by all the features. Whether this was writing for a person who wanted to rent the property or become a lessee, or a person who wanted to buy the property, they needed to really understand the benefits that all of these things gave them. I just touched on them. I didn't really develop it properly, and that is not a good sales strategy for a sales website. Finally, I would add links to the lease pages. The primary reason I would do this is there was a lot of information on the lease pages that would be interesting to a person who is interested in buying the property. And I missed a major opportunity by not interconnecting them. The other reason you would want to add links to the lease pages is it would also then make this page more of an authority page. It would make it a small hub. And that is one of the major reasons I designed the page for the lease page the way I did. This page here has all the descriptions in summary for the property. And yet there are links on this page that go out to pages that have a lot more detailed information. This is the overview page. It is a secondary hub. You'll notice also that this is where I start using the colorized blueprints. Instead of having a blueprint, which would have really clashed for the most part with the color scheme of all the photographs, I chose to actually turn the blueprints brown. And it's still effective. People know it's a floor plan, and yet it allows the website to have a sense of cohesiveness. My biggest change here on this page would be I would have put the contact form on the outside where people would expect it to be. Don't ask me why I chose to do it this way. It probably had something to do with some idiosyncrasy that was present in Office Live, and I couldn't make it work the other way, so I chose to do it this way. Now, some additional strategy updates. On this particular website, it had a nice photo gallery, but I would replace that slideshow with video. It would be so much more effective. I would also place the video in the upper right and the floor plan in the lower left. So because the video is far more important, it is what is going to capture interest. Now you'll also notice that there is no call to action on this particular page. That is another thing that I would work on. I would make sure it's there somewhere. The workflow needed to be improved. I just didn't organize this information as well as I would want to do it today. I would use less bold text. Right now it's screaming that all of that is information that they must read, and today that's more like screaming. It probably was then, I just wasn't aware. I would only use bold text where I have information I really want to emphasize. And I would definitely use more headings. There are far too few headings in here to actually create a sense of the call to action that we need. It's not compelling. If a person were looking for a rental space in the Metho Valley, this would not sell. This page just would not sell them on it, and it would be difficult for them to navigate through. The information just is not optimized properly. So here's another set. Um, I had some updates that I would do on this page. I would get video of the restaurant, the fixtures, etc., instead of just having these static pictures. I would also provide a pro forma or a white paper about the space so that they would have a much better, information set to make sure that they were making a good decision. And it would make it much easier for the landlord to either rent it or to sell the property by having a pro forma or a white paper. The other thing is I would give every feature that is listed here a benefit. Right now there's a bunch of features, but nobody knows what those features are going to do for them, how it's going to help them, how it's going to make them a successful business person if they lease this property. There are some strategy updates for this page as well. Again, I would focus on better content flow. I would replace the slideshow with a video, because of course video is far more effective than just a bunch of slides. I would attach the benefit to every feature. I would include car repair as a potential use in addition to all the other ones that I listed. In general, it would just be more of a sales page. Now the event center, I had some strategies for there as well. I would shift to the value of the event center. Right now it's just all about the features of the event center. I would strengthen the emphasis on the benefits that are connected with the different features of this event center. I just barely touched on it, and there are some typos that I would definitely fix. It's proof that you need as many eyes as possible to look at content before it goes live. Unfortunately, I didn't catch my typos, and neither did the owners of the property. So it stayed there for the whole time that this website was up. Now, my strategy update for the pictures page. One, I would get rid of it. I would just eliminate the standalone page. It really doesn't create enough value. Second thing I would do is I would convert every one of these into a video because it would be so much more effective. So I would replace the videos and place them on their individual pages that are for the particular aspect of the property. The other thing I would do is I would keep the slideshow but convert it to a video. I would be taking this original train station mini mart piece and create a slideshow video, something that played automatically with some dialogue from the owner of the property, describing exactly what they met, how they made changes, what changes they've made, and why they made them. Give some feel for this piece of property so that it's much more inviting and it feels like it's more of a value than it does seeing the finished building and how beautiful it looks now. Seeing the transformation could be very motivational and might actually help somebody make a decision. Now, another strategy update. I feel that this page is essential, but it needs to be renamed. Investors do want information about their profit potential. It's a good page because it has keywords for the Metho Valley. And so renaming it would help it be more beneficial, yet retain all of the benefits that come from the keywords that are associated with the page. I might consider renaming it The Market. I'm selling the potential of this market. And that is what's important to anyone who's investing in the property or is going to lease. They need to know what's going to be happening. So I could also consider making this another secondary hub. This hub would be focused on the potential in the Metho Valley for seasonal activities, profits, etc. You'd want to get data in here about the demographic information and statistical information. The hub would focus on how many tourists the region gets, how many events are held here, how many people come to this place, and then make sure that not only do we tell them what the information is, we tell them what that information means for them. It's another way to get a decision. Finally, videos. These are all static pictures in this website. It needed video. And while I understand that back in that time, in 2009, a lot of people were less comfortable with video, now you could walk in to the Mitho Valley and you could decide that you just want to film something with your iPhone or your Android phone. You can get a video. It doesn't have to be professional. It just needs to show the place and all the activities and everything and create that sense of fun of this being a place to go, a place to own property. And so that would be a much different way to approach this rather than just having a static page that tells you some of the history and where it's at, stuff like that. That information's good, it's important, but it needs to be up. Now we've reached the last important page on this website, and that's the Contact Us page. There are changes I would make here. For one thing, I would add a short message that's a clear call to action. Contact Us is a very weak call. It just does not motivate, and we want to motivate people. The other thing I would do is I would make sure that all of these pictures have an alt tag. I'm not sure that I actually did that back then. Now I do. I also make sure that pictures do not use underscores and that they do not use capital letters because this can create trouble for some search engines. So that has changed. The other thing is I add a direct email. There's an awful lot of people who will not use a contact form. They don't want to place a phone call. They just want to send off a quick email message. Yes, I realize that there is this impression that if you put your email on your website, you are vulnerable to spam. There are modern solutions to this that eliminate the risk for spam and make sure that you can provide an email address and make it very simple, very easy for someone to reach out to you. You don't want any obstacles, and that is one thing I would definitely change. Remove the obstacle of having to use the Contact Us form. We've covered quite a bit, so here's a summary. Be sure you use color effectively. There is a small portion of the population that really doesn't see color effectively, but most everyone else does. Make sure that there's no incoherence within your website and within your content in the color scheme. Then match content to your audience. Make sure that anything that is on your website is serving them, not serving you and not serving your SEO ideas. Make sure that you're serving your audience first, making sure that you're providing the content they are looking for. That's complicated, and that is something I'm trained to do. Use video and photos. Not everyone likes to read. Many people prefer to see a video. Photographs always help make it easier to visualize things. I do recommend that if you do use video, also offer the reading option. Some people really like to skip through. They can read really fast, and it takes longer to watch a video than for them to read. So always give the written option as well, but don't overlook video. Finally, plan your content to cluster around central ideas. We did this on this website long before the concept became an actual strategy that works well with Google. It probably worked well back then and we just didn't know it. Google has develop an algorithm that looks for authority. And one way to create authority is to have a page that has an overview, a quick overview where the customer can go quickly and they can get a grasp an idea very fast. And yet at the same time, when they want to see more information, there are plenty of links that leave this page that give them a place to find more information. And that's how you want to design all of your website content. A main service page and then content that links to that page to add authority to it. It is a very important concept. This has been Denise Rutledge with Writing for Market. If you'd like help with your B2B content, please reach out to me at writerdenise@writingformarket.com or visit my website, writingformarket.com, to get examples of work I've done for other clients and to get a feel for the type of writing I do for my B2B clients. Thank you so much, and I hope that this video has been helpful.